Now that we've taken a look at the evidence for Jewish reception of at least some of the deuterocanonical books, let's switch gears and look at the evidence for the 2nd century Jews changing their canon, removing or rejecting deuterocanonical books, and thus creating different canons among the Jews and the Christians. Not only did Rabbi Akiba wish to replace the Septuagint with a new Greek version, more accommodating to his new version of Judaism, but he also wished to standardize the Hebrew text in the same manner. Check out Gary Machuda's videos on the Apocrypha Apocalypse channel for more details on how Rabbi Akiba went about making a new rabbinic Bible and its implications and consequences for the canon. Along with standardizing the Hebrew text, early 2nd century Jews under Rabbi Akiba rejected the New Testament writings and deuterocanonical books simultaneously. In Tosefta Yadayim 2, we read, "The Gospels and heretical books do not defile the hands. The books of Ben Sirach, meaning Sirach, and all other books written from then on do not defile the hands." This passage indicates that there were Jews and Christians who thought of the deuterocanonical books as holy, inspired scripture. But because Sirach had already previously enjoyed widespread usage among the Jews, we learn from Sanhedrin 100b that Sirach had to be withdrawn from usage from their canon. Check out Gary's in-depth video on this topic, where he explains how the Hebrew term, genaz, typically referred to older, worn-out writings of Scripture that were removed from usage. But in this case, the withdrawal of Sirach is motivated by canonical revision and closure rather than the deterioration of old scrolls. Let's move on from Jewish testimony to changes in the Jewish canon to Christian testimony of differences between the Jewish and Christian canons, apparently created by Jewish changes to their canon. Contrary to Jerome's erstwhile Hebrew verity theory, and contrary to Protestant claims that Christians depend on the Jews for their Old Testament canon, here Origen sarcastically and clearly rejects the notion that Christians should depend upon the Jews for their own Christian scriptures. While he doesn't specifically refer to canonical issues here, the clear logical implication is that Origen did not believe Christians should rely on the Jews for their canon either, which will become very explicit, as we will see. Origen argues that the Jews removed the story of Susanna from the book of Daniel, even though that passage is received and accepted by the churches. It should be noted, Justin Martyr also makes this same accusation in his dialogue with Trypho, chapter 71. Here we get some very interesting and valuable testimony from Origen that Jews and Christians do indeed have different canons, and that the Church uses deuterocanonical books like Tobit and Judith, but the Jews do not. Why don't the Jews use Tobit? We get an interesting answer later from another popular figure in the canon debate, Jerome himself, who explicitly says the Jews removed Tobit from their canon, from their catalog of divine scripture.